Ancient technology comments. A lot of ancient structures, specifically in India, but I will look in other places in the world. A lot of ancient structures, like temples specifically, are giant computers. Mechanical, yes, to a certain degree, electrical, but there's certain elements of mechanical features to it that makes them mechanical computers. The main thing is they're computers. They're a combination of analog, but also a little bit of digital. They use a lot of geometry, among other factors. They use sound, because sound creates shapes, shapes create sound. So there's that. There's a lot of people that look at the pillars in a lot of these Indian temples, and they're like, oh, this looks like a 3D rendition of sound waves, sound frequencies. So if we were to scan the pillars and then convert it into, a sound wave, and then play it out, we should, right, get some type of audio out of it, right? Still waiting for people to do that. Maybe someday I'll do it. But anyway, and I do agree that that is definitely a high probability that that's the factor. Another possibility is just the fact that a lot of these pillars in certain locations can spin. You can spin the pillars, you can rotate them. So the possibility of them spinning and then using some type of light, like a laser light, and have their laser light basically bounce, right? Hit the pillar, bounce back, and then record that, right? And then do that over and over again. And basically, you'll read the pillars, because the pillars have shapes. Shapes make sound, sound makes shapes, right? I'm gonna repeat that a couple times for y'all to memorize it, because it's a fact. For example, when you try to make a word, you notice your lips makes a shape in order to say those words, right? Your diaphragm flexes, creating different shapes to create different frequencies, different sounds, right? We have different instruments of different shapes and they create different sounds, right? And the list goes on. So if you know anything about, sound and frequencies and music and all that stuff, you already would know this. But anyway, back to the analog computers, the fact that ancient humans did have computers. It's just not exactly in the same way you would think. Because when people think of computers, they'll automatically think of like a laptop or a tablet or something like that. I mean, think about how ironic it's. We refer to stone tablets as tablets, and then we have digital tablets, right? We have computer tablets, and we refer to them as tablets. So it's interesting, we refer to them as tablets, but a lot of ancient writings, a lot of information that was stored and written and documented and still exists, and now we read it and figure out what the information was written on there from an ancient time was a tablet, right? So obviously the inspiration for the digital tablet, like an iPad, obviously came from the stone tablets, obviously. It's not that ancient humans, figured out the idea of an iPad. I mean, they just wrote stuff on tablets, right? On stone, on pieces of paper. I mean, paper is technically a leaf-based tablet, right? A stone tablet is a stone-based tablet, right? You get the idea. So the point is it's a way to record, to store, to illustrate data and information, and then it's just a matter of transferring it, right? It's a matter of something reading it, whether it be another human being or some form of technology. So a lot of these structures, let me zoom in. The important part is to look at a lot of these structures from the top view. That's where you really see what these temples, these structures, and these areas really are about. Because when you look at them from the top view, they're definitely telling you something, they're definitely telling you a story. Because this, if you zoom in real close, like, you know, a lot of this stuff here kind of looks like, you know, computer parts. Like this is a motherboard. I mean, look at the fact that it's on a big green, lush, you know, thing, and then all this non-green, which is the stone structure. So, right, certain types of stones, you can transfer electricity through it. Like you can run electricity through certain types of stones. Not every stone. I mean, granite has a resistance to electricity, even though you can apply pressure to it and cause it to produce a little bit of electricity from the quartz crystals in the granite, you know, through the piezoelectric effect. But besides that, there's a big resistance that granite has. But that just means granite makes a great resistor. When you think about technology, you try to make a computer, you will need a whole bunch of resistors and transistors, right? Because a CPU, a mother chip, right, a computer chip, you know, a processor, CPU, has a lot of transistors. So once you figure out and realize what transistors are, and they're mostly crystal, by the way, crystal transistors, then any type of stone that has a whole bunch of crystal in it inherently is a transistor. Obviously, you have to be able to interact with it and interface with it, right? You have to be able to take advantage of it. But it's the fact that inherently, naturally, it's going to be a transistor because it's going to have all the little crystals that you're going to need to be able to, you know, transfer information and whatnot. Specifically, electricity, which are electrons, by the way. And everything has electrons, so electrons everywhere. So you'd be thinking like, oh, if this is a big giant computer board, where's the battery? Where's the power come from? Well, ironically, the earth itself, right? The air itself, and the list goes on. Even water. You can even use water. Because water, you know, has hydrogen and oxygen molecules, and those molecules, right, those atoms, have electrons, so you can get electricity from it. But anyway, there's electrostatic, something like that. You can get some electrostatic electricity out of running water. And that's the thing, having water running can cause, you know, electrostatic discharge, and you can use that electrostatic discharge to power things. And like I said, electricity can flow through certain types of rocks. So water flowing like it's electricity, right, through plumbing, through piping, stone piping specifically, stone pipes, right, water pipes, aquifers, and have the water running, you know, create electrostatic electricity, which will flow out through the stone and travel wherever you want it to. And like I said, you can use stuff like granite to as resistors to redirect the flow of the electricity that came from the flow of water, and redirect it into a different path, and, you know, produce a process, right? The process could be, you know, powering an air conditioner, like some type of, you know, air conditioner, right? You get the idea, like an air conditioner, maybe a lighting system that we're unaware of, because since a lot of these structures are not in, you know, in their original condition to be able to function, and most people don't even know how to get these structures to work the way they used to. That's why we don't 100% know what these structures are capable of. But when you look at it, at least be open-minded to look at it from a computer, you know, engineer perspective, look at it as a giant computer, a motherboard, right? And if you have that knowledge and experience, use it to figure out how this works. Because the fact is, what's interesting is, if this image right here depicts basically an ancient motherboard, right, that this whole entire structure functions a lot like a computer, then what we will have to do is reproduce this onto an actual motherboard, create a motherboard that literally is modeled after this, and then try it out, right? You'll more likely use electricity, of course, right? But as long as the outcome is whatever the outcome is, whatever it does, right? Let's say, for example, just out of curiosity to try to figure out what this structure here does, it probably creates a specific frequency. So this is probably more of a circuit board, I'll call it, circuit board, right? That its main function is just to produce a specific frequency. And let's say the frequency is 434 hertz or something like that. And that's all it really does. It's just a big sound circuit, right? So it's a circuit that's designed to just create a specific sound. For whatever reason, I don't know what the reason is, right? Maybe it's for healing, maybe it's just for good vibes, because that frequency just makes life feel good. So, I don't know. That's the whole point, right? Is to figure it out eventually, right? But for now, we can be impressed by these structures. As you can see, they come in many different shapes and sizes. But that's why when you look at a lot of these structures, like, there's way too much details, way too much stuff that unless you're up flying above and looking down, you're not going to see a lot of these structures. You're not going to see a lot of this detail. So a lot of this detail is very pointless if you think about it, unless you can look down and see the structure. So why would they create stuff that you can only see you can only truly appreciate it from the sky, from above, right? If there's no way to be above it to even look at it, right? Now this is just a random picture. I don't even know if that's a real structure or not. I'm assuming it probably is. A lot of these are probably not real structure. Oh, I know this one's a real structure, but what that is, let's see. There's one specific location, which is what gave me this idea initially. And I was hoping that it'll pop up here, where it's like, oh, because there was like a video and I was watching a long time ago, and it was describing certain parts of the wall of that structure, and it was pointing out like, oh, this part of it is granite, but this part's not. And I was like, this part's a different type of stone from this one. And I was seeing a pattern. It's like, why is only certain parts of it made of granite and the other parts not? And I started thinking, like, is it because it's trying to create some type of circuitry? Like it's doing, like I said, the whole resistor thing. Most of the granite parts was resistors, a whole bunch of resistors. And all the stuff that isn't granite is the conductors, right? It's basically the wiring where the electricity is going to flow through. And I think I saw some stuff about like water, and it's like, oh yeah, there's water will flow here, and this and that create the electrostatic, discharge, and then it'll flow through the stone, and the granite will be the resistors, resisting, right? And I've noticed that not all the little granite pieces were all granite. Some of it looked the same as everything else, but it was actually a different stone. So you would think it was granite, but when you test it, it's like, oh, this is not granite. Some of these little spikes are granite, but some of these aren't. So that right there creates a pattern, granite, resistance, no resistance, resistance, no resistance. You get the idea? It creates a pattern. And you know what happens when there's pattern? That means there's intelligence, right? When there's a pattern, that means there's thought put into it. It's not random. Somebody thought of putting that there for a reason. So why would you have a pattern like that unless there was a purpose for it, right? The only reason you have that type of pattern is because it's supposed to have a purpose. It's supposed to do something. So what if the pattern is it's a program? It's deliberately designed in stone to be preset pattern to do something specific. And it could just be to create a specific frequency. Okay, and what's that frequency for? Is it to purify water? Like it's a specific frequency? They can shake the water molecules and, I don't know, make it more pure, make it less contaminated. I don't know. Maybe you create a specific frequency that makes certain types of fish more interested in breeding, more interested in mating. Maybe you know, so that way you can, breed fish and have an abundance of fish. Whatever reason they're using this stuff for. I'm just trying to point out the fact that it's like, yeah, ancient humans definitely had technology. It's just that their technology was a little bit more ground-based, right? A little more earth-like, a little bit more stone-like, right? It was a little bit more natural. They weren't trying to create things like plastic, which is not natural. No, they were more interested in using what did exist, what is natural, because they're trying to understand the natural world, and they're trying to use nature to produce certain outcomes. So a giant stone temple designed to function like a computer to produce certain frequencies or even store data, like they're trying to record something for us to learn about it now is important. It's like, all right, well, I'm gonna look into it and find out what secrets are in these giant computer-like structures.